You go sit on that. Come sit on this stool. Need to check the. Love it. Okay. No.
Dang it.
No. Okay, thank you, Stacy.
No, I have to pass.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Surely Jonathan could bring him home. How long did it travel?
We flew. Yeah, 2.5 hour flight, so yeah, it was nice because we got there during daytime. Driving around the seaside, so you felt like you had 3 days, even though it was not really.
Yes, they actually just
Yeah, you can learn stuff like that. As long as it's a direct flight, of course it's really
there's
just no one over there.
I'll go home. All right. Yeah. It's not long.
You go in with the kids.
I brought chocolate. I took a senior card, and she is a delight. She is a delight in that class. Come on here, let's just stop talking. About the lesson. It's not like talking about the lesson. You're always talking about the
But it's all day because I've been like on school mode since they really started when school started. So I was like, you're ready. I can't have one more thing to make like
She's having fun. And I'm having fun. Chocolate. Where did we go? Oh my God, you're cold. Have some ramen.
What's up with her?
It's so nice.
I know those days. Doesn't come very often for me.
Oh, it's just a hard part of the
Well, no, I still have that. So then I joined that field. Yeah, so I joined the 25 something right? Well, now the organization is going by herself. Right. But in the summer we were both. Either way, you know, we think you're not using the gym and stuff. Man, that yes, it's thought I saw her on the home second. Yeah. We don't need a cancel. Yeah. Yes. Which I didn't know if you guys wondered, but when it was passed, I was like, oh, it's over here. I'll have it all text her. I'm like, it's like, stuff that I I don't think so. Because, you know, when I have French class, everybody knows. I mean, you know, right in okay, in my class, I'm so sorry, but I can't even I cannot hear you. And then the nose. I don't know how you do that. And I'm getting them. Yeah, I mean, they all. I can't hear you. I know a lot of my colleagues. And you know, part of it was like this is yeah, so I always I don't know how. Yeah. Yes, so.
Wow.
Did you see how fast that was?
Yes. Wow, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I just
One letter, so we're coming in. Be quiet.
Okay, so I have a colleague. Well, she's like, I'm like, I was going to talk. Okay, I just have to launch. I really need four kids, and then they all show up each birthday. Yeah, and then now they have two homes. Okay. Hey guys, come to the front. Anytime hey guys, scoot up. No one's here. Yeah. Scoot up. Hey, welcome. I'm gonna sit far away from you with my mask.
I'll be holding these. I'm going to
It's so kind to see us. No matter how small the room is, there's no way. Okay, I got it. Now you know. Got it. Wow. What is it like? Well, that area is what? For the YouTube. I used to live. Just like I got this live. It says live. Okay, guys. Well, welcome to the practice for moms. That's what this is. I'm so glad that you guys decided to come. We were debating about how to do this night. And the more we talked about it, it was like, we're only going to get one parent there because it's a school night. I mean, I barely got out of the house. I was just telling Kim, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to come right at 7:50 from now on. Because it's hard to get out of the house, right? So I congratulate all of you for making it happen. Thank you for coming. I think it's going to be worth it. It's going to be fun. And I think we all need a chance to, be away from our children for just a minute and get our heads together and, maybe hopefully hear from God. So anyway, did everybody start school? Everybody, it's all done. Haley, have you started yet?
Tomorrow they start some classes, and then we officially start our homeschool next week.
Awesome. Okay, so we're all sort of in the same boat, even though we've got different age kids. Oh my gosh, Therese, Evan was the cutest and the most wonderful student.
Oh, yeah.
It was really awesome. It was just so awesome to have. We did we're doing our Heritage Project. I don't know if you've heard of that, but for our 5th and 6th graders, we have this thing called the Heritage Project. And we're going through the whole Bible, in 2 years. And so last couple of weeks, they were reading about the creation and the fall with their families, because it's like this family program. And so we hired a reptile party to come, and it was the funnest thing. They brought this, what was that, 16-foot? Like,
16.
It was crazy. 180 pounds? What was it?
80 pounds.
80 pounds. It was, and it was really scary. It was yellow, and she said it wasn't dangerous at all. I believed her. Okay, so tonight, I'm super relaxed, and I'm hoping that we can all be super relaxed, but still hear from God. So I just wanted to cover some things that are not so parenty first. This isn't working for me. Hello? Do you want me to press the button? No, I want this to work. So maybe it's from where I am. Aha. So if I go like that. Okay. So I wanted to just remind you that this is coming.
September 11th, right?
Yes. So just so you know, in case you're having trouble adding that up, it's not this weekend, but the next. Okay. But here's something awesome. We have flyers. And we have a lot of them, and you can just pass them out and give them all to your friends and put them on bulletin boards at your kids' schools and reach out to people and invite them to this. And I left the flyers at home, and so Jay even went home to get them, and he's bringing them back. Okay, that's how awesome he is. So anyway, I wanted to just remind you that this is coming up because this is such an opportunity. I know we're all back at school. Just start passing the things out. I have to tell you the story about the campus ministry. They had Rush Week this week, and it's been a hard year for campus. They're not allowed there, so it's like, what are we doing? But anyway, they went for it with all their heart. And Kyle said that there was this one time where they were out there, and he said, he goes I have 1,000 flyers. Well, I'm just gonna start throwing them out there, passing them out to everybody. And in that 1 hour and a half, God just totally blessed it. And 20 people are coming. They had their very first service that was on campus. Lots of new interest, lots of people coming out. And it just made me think, yes, we just need to just throw those flyers out there. Get them out there. Go to your schools, punch them into the bulletin boards and whatever. Get it out there. Haley is actually going to be overseeing the decorating because we're going to decorate the courtyard out there because we're going to have desserts. And we're hiring Nick Vescovi to bring his coffee cart. Yay! I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a little place there for you to take a picture with your hubby. And have some desserts and coffee, and it'll be really nice. So you should be seeing in your inbox an email that you could click up to either help set up or clean up. You know, I know it's not going to work for everybody, but if you can, that'd be great. All right, and then you say, well, oh, what happens after that? The week after that, we're going to be starting making marriage simple. And every small group is right now thinking through how they want to handle that in their group. If we have some different ideas, we're going to be offering the class several times a week, so that when people come to Marriage Hacks, we can say, join us for this class. And they go, oh, you know, like let's say your group is meeting on Monday, and they're like, oh, I'd have this on Monday. Like we can say, hey, well, we have it on Tuesday and Friday and Saturday too. So pick one of those. Hopefully that's the way that's going to work. Each small group will kind of decide how they want to handle it, whether they want to do it all together, whether they just want to pick one of the classes and help each other with babysitting. You know what I'm saying? Like, so an idea would be like, oh, the Thomases, oh, we're going to go to a Monday class, and then our best friends, they're going to do the Thursday class, and we're going to swap kids or something. I don't know. You know, it's hard. It's difficult. We'll figure it out. We're going to believe. Yes.
Is there an optimal size for those groups?
I heard like 12, I don't know if it's 12 couples or 12 people. So I'll make ssure that that's in the info.
Pretty small.
Yeah. Yeah, and besides that, you're having it in your house or in the backyard. I don't know. So, but here we're gonna have them here so that people will be able to come.
So if I invite a friend, do I have to recommend the book too, or can they just come to the class?
Yeah, the book. Everybody will go through the book. You have to have the book.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll have some at Marriage Hacks to, you know, help incentivize people. Is that how you say it? Okay, wait. I keep pressing it. I was going like this. Okay. It doesn't work. There. Okay. So you say, well, what about me? It's not going to work for me to do the Marriage Hacks because my husband's not a Christian. Or what about the singles in our group? What are they going to be doing? Well, this is going to be awesome because Mary is going to be hosting a 1,000 gifts class. So she's just going to keep, isn't it amazing? I mean, you can't go wrong with this book, seriously.
It changes the way you see everything.
It really does, right? Eucharistia. So she's going to be offering that right here, just the alternate Tuesdays, so it just keeps going. So if you have people in your group and this Marriage Hacks is not going to work for them for one reason or another, this would be a great alternative. And I think it's going to be really awesome. So we're going to go all the way through that. And let's see, what's next? Okay, I wanted to make sure that you knew about this. We're trying to do various Orange County, like all of the region together things every once in a while. Okay, so or pretty regularly. So we're having a teaching night, and that is going to be on Friday, September 17th. It's about gender roles, not about LGBTQ plus stuff, not that. Gender roles in the Bible. What does the Bible say is the woman's role in leadership, in church, whatever? So there has been a long time, we've been studying this. I'm sure that this hasn't been really communicated the best way, but a couple years ago, the elders of the LA church started a study, wrote a 130-page paper. The teachers of the church worldwide wrote a 130-page paper. The elders were reviewing it. So us on staff, we went through an entire series of gender-related articles and study. We've been doing that for the past year. So all of that study that we've done as a staff is going to be sort of presented in a way that is more digestible. It's one night. Of course, if you would like to read all of the papers, they will be available to you. You are welcome to do that. But this is going to be our best attempt at going, here's our findings. This is where we're landing, you know, come out to it. Hello, yay. So happy you're here. Okay, so anyway, that's the September one. And then,
What time will that be?
probably standard kingdom time. But I keep saying that 7:30, and then I find out that sometimes things are scheduled at 7. Oops, I gotta go back now. Okay, another possible all-region event is that Mark Solomon might be coming. So if you're not familiar with the BAMA podcast, I highly recommend this podcast, especially if your kids are in Heritage Project. You can kind of go through it on a deep dive level for you and your husband or whatever. anyway, he may be coming. He has been talking with Steve, and they're kind of got a relationship going. And so he goes, well, I'm going to be in Orange County, and do you want me to come? And so we're trying to work something out. This is totally speculation. We're like guessing that he'll come on that Saturday night and then do our service on Sunday. We'll see. Okay, so anyway, if that happens, it happens. And then we have a regional worship service planned for November 7th. And on that Sunday for the SOC, that would be our service, or you can meet with your group too and add this on. You can do whatever you want, but we're going to be doing some, we're going to be handling some regional type things, okay? So I just want to make sure you knew all those things are going on, because sometimes people are wondering, are we ever going to meet together again? I hear that, are we ever going to meet together again? There's 3 times that we're going to be meeting together again. So there you have it. Okay. Oh, okay. Now, so this is not advertisement for you to go to, but I just wanted to share a couple things, because how many people were able to watch the video from this week? What was it called? I can't remember our Connect video. Hinder, that's right. Okay. So we've been talking so much lately about okay, we've got some things going good now. There are some really good functioning groups. So what's our next, sort of step? And that is kind of to step out into our community, and as much as we can for these next 3 months, until Advent, just reach out and reach out and reach out. And I just thought this was the cutest idea. It is the Yorks group has decided, or just the Yorks, they just hired Nick to come to their neighborhood, and they're going to do a little coffee, get to know your neighbor day. Is that the cutest thing? So I just thought that was so cute, and I thought you guys might get some good ideas from that. And then I'm really excited about this next one. This is you would think that this next thing would have happened a little sooner, but it's because of me. So I've been wanting to have a yard sign so that when we meet out in our park, that we can put it out there so that people can see, who are you guys, what are you guys doing over there? And I've been wanting people to see it, to get some sort of advertisement, and one to put kind of in our front yard. People have them all over Ladera. I love my church, or I love our school, or whatever. I'm like, well, I love my church too. So we're having one of these made for our group. And thank you so much to Anna Tucci. She's the one who did it. So she can design this for your group too. If you wanted to be like the South OC Church at Aliso Viejo or whatever, whatever, Mission Viejo. I don't know everybody's names, what they're going by. Some people are like, we don't want a name. I'm like, okay, fine, do whatever. But if you want one of these signs to put up, where you are, we'll absolutely do it for you. Okay, so just some ideas of how to kind of get out in our neighborhoods and make the most of the fall before we go into winter. Okay, so all of that stuff is just stuff about SOC. But I want to talk to moms tonight. Actually, I don't want to talk to moms tonight. I want us to be able to talk. I want us to be able to be moms together. I was just thinking today, I was reading that scripture that talks about many things, practice hospitality, and, never be lacking in zeal, in Romans 12, has all these things. And right in the middle of it, it says, and do not pretend, I just not say this exactly this way, but basically it says, don't pretend to be wiser than you actually are. It says that in there. I was like, oh, thank you, God, because I was thinking about how, as moms, you just love your kids so much. And you really just want there to be answers. For every, what could you give me okay, so this is happening, and how many times you've explained to somebody, so it looks like this, or this is happening, or should I be concerned, or you just really want there to be answers for whatever problem it is that you're encountering. I know I do, and but you get to this point where you realize, there's no standard answer. There's no stock. There's no formula. It's not a stock photo situation. It's just so individual for every single kid. And God is the only one who has the wisdom that we all need. So anyway, I was just thinking about how I kind of have gotten to this point where I'm like, whenever I talk to moms, I'm like, I don't know, but I certainly feel for you. Like, I certainly understand how you're feeling. So anyway, so the rest of tonight, I'm hoping that we can dedicate to just kind of chopping up some of the questions that we have. I'm going to give you basically what I did was, all I did was I went into my notes on my phone, you know, the little notes section, and I put in parenting, and I'm just going to download to you all the notes that I've taken, that I've been working on. You know, like I'll talk to somebody, or I'll hear some podcast, or I'll do something, and I was like, oh, let me just, you know, tell them all the stuff that I've been working on, because chances are it'll help you too, or at least we can, you know, start talking about questions that we have. So I would love to pray. And actually, we're going to watch a few. I love TikTok. Does anybody else love TikTok? I am like, I'm so into it. I love it. I have my exact people that I follow, and you know, and I'm pretty vigilant. You know, if something comes up on my For You, and I don't like it, I'm like, not interested. You know, because it really responds to your wants. In that, I really like it. So I can be not interested. Quit sending me the tarot card reader. Like, I don't know. I think because I have this whole mind body, you know, thing I'm interested in, they think that I want my palm read or something. Anyway, so but I would love it if somebody would just hit those lights so that they could be out for a second, and we could pray, and then we'll get into our. We'll turn it back on when we're actually doing something. Okay. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know why it stays. Because sometimes if I'm not moving, they just go off altogether. I think that'll be enough for right now. This enough. Thank you for helping me.
Well, because this could be 4 rooms.
Okay, let's pray.
That's right.
I was just going to do it. All right. Okay, Father God, we are so incredibly grateful to be alive today. God, thank you for waking us up. Thank you that our children are safe at home. Thank you for all the things that you put into place to make tonight possible. And God, we thank you that we have families, that we have children, that we have these blessings. You have always considered children a blessing. And all the generations that have preceded us have always looked at every child as a blessing. And we do too, God. I just can't imagine my life without one of my children. And I know that that is a reality for so many people, having lost a child. And so, God, we thank you that we have these beautiful, wonderful, healthy kids at home. And God, we're thankful that we have you, because there is no way, God, we would know what to do without you. And we need you. We need you to fill us with your grace, to cover us with your grace. Fill us with your mercy. Grant us all of the wisdom that you can. We pray that you would expand our brains to be more like you. We pray that you would expand our hearts to be more like you. Help us to see our kids like you see our kids. And help us to learn the things that you want to teach us through the process. So God, we thank you for the opportunity to have your word, your guidance, just a light for our path. We're just grateful. And Father, we want to be able to set aside everything that gets in our way tonight. There might be things that are looming at home, homework that we probably needed to check, but we didn't do it, a little bit of work that we were supposed to do for our own jobs that we didn't quite get to, dishes that we might be facing when we get there. But God, I just pray that for this moment, that you would allow us to sit at your feet and just learn from you. God, do that crazy, amazing thing that you do where you answer each woman's question through the same lesson. I don't know how you do that, but I know that you know the questions that are in our hearts. And I know that you know each child because you are holding them in the hollow of your hand. So help us to feel your presence, to hear your voice. Speak to us. We're listening to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, well, to get us started, no, leave them off. That's the reason I wanted it to be off. I want to see if I don't know how to make it go, though. How do I make it go? Because if I press this, it's going to go to the next thing, isn't it? Let's see.
Oh, kids starting school next week. I am free. What do you mean it's due tomorrow? She's the rubber jacket out there right there. Where's your lunch? Come on, the bus is coming.
All right, I wrote with my left hand. She'll think it was you, all over her desk. Yeah, I'll tell her. Who said that? I don't know who that is. So I either have to buy 500 cups or I have to bake some cookies. What am I saying? Oh, I forgot to clean the lunchbox. Too late to pick her up. Keep running.
Yes, right? That's exactly how it is. Like you think, oh, I'm gonna be relaxing. Oh, dang it. Okay, so this next one is such a sweet one. And I just wanted to play it because I know that we can all kind of relate to it.
That calms her down.
Isn't that amazing, right? But you know, I think of that, just that connection that we have with our kids that can't be explained. It's this connection from the womb, and it's such a precious thought and such a helpful thing to me to remember that even with my my children by choice, that they didn't get that, right? It's a wound. They got something else, but they didn't get that, and it is a loss for them. It's an interesting thing. But that connection that we have, we're going to talk about that tonight, about that connection that we have between our hearts to our children. But on a funny side, I will say that even after that sweet, sweet beginning, I find myself much more like this next TikTok. In just a few years, you might find yourself at this place. And I want to apologize ahead of time because it is, it's a little raucous. But I could relate to so much because I turn into this woman. She's talking about her kids they're getting ready to go out to visit some friends. Oh, hey. Oh, no. No! Go back. Okay, this should play. Hey! Oh! No!
Hey, wait, let me explain something to you before we leave. When we get over here, get somewhere and sit down. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't think about me because I'm grown. I'm going to be with the grown folks. You're going to be with the kids. Understand this? When I say it's time to go, it's time to go. Don't ask, can you stay the night? You cannot. Don't ask them to come back over here and stay the night. They cannot. Don't get over here acting like you hungry, like you ain't ate all day. If you do, I will knock fire out of your throat. Don't touch nothing. Don't break nothing. Don't ask for nothing to drink. Don't ask for nothing to eat. Lisa ain't already think her kids is better than everybody else, and they are not. If one of them touch you, you better knock their head off their shoulder. Don't come in here tapping to me about what you think, what you want, and how you feel. When we get ready to go, I tell you how you feel. Is everybody on the same page? Don't play with me.
Okay, now you can turn the lights on. Thank you so much. We all know this, right? I'm like, let me explain. No, come talk to me. I'm going to be with the grown folks. And don't come asking tickets for the night, because you can't. Don't ask if you're coming over, because they're not coming over. And don't act like you haven't been eating. All those things, I was like, yes, that is absolutely. That's been my experience. Okay. Anyway, so we want to be that first that first TikTok, not the first one, but the middle TikTok. That's who we want. Oh, my baby, and the heart connection, and then next thing you know, we're letting it play. So somewhere in between, we try to bring ourselves back to that connection, and become that person again. But I want us to turn over to Deuteronomy 6. Okay, this is going to be our guide. Let's see. Deuteronomy 6. And you know, the thing that let's just start reading. You're familiar with it, I know. But it says, these are the commands, decrees, and laws the your God directed me to teach you to observe in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. So that, and remember, whenever there's a so that in the Bible, you always circle it, you always underline it, you do something to go, okay, I'm getting ready to find out what happens, right? So that you, your children, and their children after them may fear the Lord your God as long as you live, by keeping all his decrees and commands that I give you, and so that you may enjoy long life. Hear, Israel, and be careful to obey, so that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. When the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to you, a land with large, flourishing cities you did not build, houses filled with all kinds of good things you did not provide, wells you did not, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. Then when you eat and are satisfied, be careful that you do not forget the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Okay, so this just gives us, I come back to this over and over again because I think life is complicated and parenting is even more so complicated, right? And so I like to come back to where things make sense. And the lens that I have chosen to look through is that God is the creator and maker of all things. And when we live for him and when we spend our days just serving him and thinking, how can I please God? How can I live for my maker? How can I experience all that he has to give me? How can I partner with him? How can I be with him? Then life makes more sense. That's the only way that the world makes sense. Today I was talking to Brooklyn, and on the way to school, we're dropping her off, and I was asking her about her friends. Now, so Brooklyn started high school for the first time. She started public school for the first time, and she is in Orange County for the first time. So basically, it's 3 strikes against her. And so she went to this huge high school. She's done great. This is the 3rd week, right? So I asked her, I was just asking her, so how are you still, because she found a few friends, she made a few friends that she could hang out with. And I said, hey, are your friends still Maria? I was naming them, and I said, and what's the guy's name? She's like, oh no, he's not our friend anymore because he got popular doing magic, and so now he's and I was just so sad because I was like, I know what you're saying, I know. But I did my whole the thing is though, that you are smart and funny and fun and witty and creative and amazing. It's really his love. And you are worth it. You are worth everything. So, just trying to, I did that, but then in my heart as I'm driving off, I'm like, oh, why does the world have to be so mean? And I'm mean, and you were mean, and we're all mean. Why does it have to be so mean? And then, so I'm just saying that complication of the world, like, why does it have to be this way? It brings me back to, you know what makes sense? Jesus. Jesus is the only thing that makes sense. And so I take myself back to this a lot because I go, this was God's original intent. This is God's, it's his plan. He's like, live for me, and I promise you, it will go well with you. That doesn't mean that everything will work out the way that you think that it should, and you'll have every blessing that you think that you deserve. But what you will have is what I know you need, and far more than you deserve. You know, right? So I like how it simplifies things. And the first thing that it says there is that it says it's for you. You know, they've gotten all these commands and all the stuff that God had gone through, and he said, this is so you and then your children, right? And I think about that order for parenting a lot, right? Because sometimes I can really want to know what to do in the situation, and what I really need to be focusing on is who I need to be in the situation. Does that make sense? And so, and I'm like, oh yeah, right. It's way more important who I am than what I do. It's way more important what is caught than taught. More is caught than taught, you know, but I have to remind myself of that all the time. Okay, so the thing also that we know from this is that it's the greatest command, right? So we're gonna love God. Life works when we love God with our whole heart and soul and mind, right? And so something I've been really doing lately is really looking at this human trinity, right? Of our body, our mind, and our soul. And that goes for me. I'm trying to get to where I have, another way to say it would be that I'm physically healthy, I'm mentally healthy, and I'm spiritually healthy. That's what we're going for all the time. And these are the kinds of things that we've been talking about in our family. And again, this is stuff we're talking about. Take what you want. You don't have to, this is, you know, I'm just throwing it out there. Hopefully God will give you something that you need. But I've been thinking a lot about where I fall short. And the older your kids get, the more you realize, oh man,
Yeah.
wow, I really blew that. I wish I had done that differently, and I really don't know what I'm doing. That really is kind of how it goes. I don't mean to be scary by that. It's okay. It's okay. But I think honestly, I think for me, something that hurt my kids, honestly, was my lack of mental health. I think my lack of emotional maturity. I think my spiritual maturity was actually not the deficit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We did do a lot of while you're walking down the road, when you're lying in your bed, when you're doing, and I actually think, I don't know that I'm assessing this correctly, but I think that does go on with your family. I'm looking at this group that showed up on a Tuesday night, 3 weeks into school, so that they could learn more about how to raise their kids spiritually. I think this is actually going on, that you guys go over Bible scriptures and you memorize things and you talk about concepts about God and you notice God as you go, and they see you having your quiet times. And if this isn't resonating with you, then I can tell you that that's probably some spiritual health that you need to get going. But I kind of get the feeling that it is, so that you're spending time with God, you're trying to communicate the love of God and those kinds of things. Not that we're perfect, but I'm just saying I think that's happening. But I don't know that our emotional maturity really matches first of all, our age. For some of us, and I've always known mine doesn't, because I started using when I was 15, and I was basically partying until I didn't get sober until I was 30. So when I was in CR, I was going through chemical recovery at 30, and I was like 15 emotionally. So and some of you have 15-year-olds, so you know what that looks like. So, but I had grown and grown and grown, but I don't think that my emotional maturity, I think that was probably the thing that really hurt my kids more than anything. Not a lack of Bible, not a lack of spiritual development, but a lack of understanding of how to deal with them in a healthy way. And then, of course, physical health, how that affects your body. And I will just say that these three things go together and they touch, right? So, so my experience has been that, sometimes that I've noticed that some of the kids in our church have turned out to have sort of chronic illnesses. In our family, we've dealt with chronic illness, fibromyalgia, and all kinds of different things. But really, I think it came down to a lot of the mental health. I think it was a lot of not knowing how to process the negative emotions, not knowing how to process wanting to do good, wanting to be good. And so it really has affected, I think, all of our good kids most. Does that make sense? Okay, and please hear that the right way, okay? Hopefully you have more than one kid, and you have one that like naturally wants to be good. It's true. And then you have one that's like, I couldn't care less, make me, like, I don't want to be good, and there's just kids, and you're the same parent. So don't take it personally. It just is. I mean, I was sort of, like the crazy child. So I understand that kind of kid. But I think it actually hurts our good kids more than the rebels because it's harder to stuff. I think it's more damaging to your body to stuff than to let it go. I don't know. This is just my theory. You get what you pay for. Nobody paid anything coming in. So I think these all go together. I think they affect you. And I am actually studying this for myself. Okay, so I'm doing a lot of work through metanoia method, which helps you to go back and deal with a lot of your old tapes and your memories, and helps you to rewrite them. So this is where I'm at. So this is where it has to be for us. We're trying to get healthy, right, in these three areas, and then we're trying to pass that down to our kids. And for Brooklyn, like even right, I only have one left really that I'm like, I still have a chance, like an influence over, that's not true. I shouldn't have said it that way. But when you feel like you have an actual, okay, if I say this, you should do it, the rest of my kids are pretty grown. But we talk about this all the time. And so for some of you that have like older kids, I'll tell you, we're gonna talk about it more, but I'll tell you one of the things that we've done is I say, okay, Brooklyn, we're not gonna pretend like that we don't need all three of these. Because what happens is when they start school, everything is just about the physical health, and I'm including academics in that. Like the whole Plato music and gymnastics and music. It's talking about academics and physical activity. Those are actually just two sides of the same parts of you. So I'm saying that's school, physical health. So she has to go to school and use her brain. She has to go to school and use her body. So we've got the physical health going, all right? But that cannot be all. That can't be all. And they need to start taking responsibility for that. So we have these conversations. I'm like, what are you going to do for your mental health? And so we have a little thing we're going to do that we do weekly for our mental health. And I'll share that with you in a little bit. And then what are you going to do for your spiritual health? And the thing that we decided for our spiritual health was you're going to go on Sundays. We're going to go to our small group. And you're going to come every other week to our youth ministry time. And that's what we're doing for our spiritual health. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be like this big, well, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock and I'm going to have a quiet time and I'm going to write out quiet times for her so that I make sure that she's doing them. And then I'm going to make sure that when we're, do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be huge. It just needs to be a part of the triangle so that they grow up knowing I have a soul and it needs care. I need to tend to my spiritual life. It's not an option to only do school. That's not an option because that creates an unhealthy person. And it's not even just about being a Christian, which I ultimately believe. I would love everybody to be a Christian. But God gave my kids free will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I can't heart that I can't harp on that. But I can say we're going to be healthy in our family. We're not going to pretend like we don't need emotional growth. And we need to do things that are proactive to gain that emotional growth. We're not going to pretend like we don't need spiritual growth. You have a soul. You are not just a brain on two legs. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right, so they need to have some buy-in with that. Okay, I don't know. I'm rambling on a little bit. Okay, so here's where starts. I just wrote down some notes. These first notes are from Mary Mays. Okay, so she was doing a little parenting class, and I just wrote these down. First thing she said was, change yourself. Parenting is about changing yourself. And if you ever, when you get too focused on changing them, you know that you've gone too far. You've gone too far, because it's something about that you're supposed to be learning. Parenting is always something you're supposed to be learning. It really is less about them and more about us. Yep. If that makes sense. Okay, changing yourself, focusing on that, noticing the good in them, always noticing, thank you, babe. Thank you, you're the best.
Noticing good.
Those marriage hacks flyers are here. Oh, and Cece, we got it's the hat. Yay! Good job. Noticing the good. This has been, I will say how this has been playing itself out, at least in our house, is that I started realizing my tendency to point out any negative things or corrective things before school. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, like that was really going to produce something good. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you thinking, Tracy? So I was driving, and I realized, you know what I need to do while I'm in the car? All I can do is build her up. That's it. I need to build her up. You're off. That's all she could. What do you want to take in the morning? All the things that you need to change. So I just need to build her up. And one of my friends said that every morning as they're driving, she recites Jeremiah 29:11 to her kid. So I started doing that. Just remember this, babe. You have a future that's not dependent on San Juan Hills High School. It's all good. It's okay. We have a future. We have a hope and a future. So you're just building them up. Noticing the good that they do. Noticing when, if you can find anything good. They weren't negative when they got up. They actually, reached out for a hug. They picked something up that they picked something up off the floor. That's so cute.
They brushed their teeth.
Yeah, they brought their dishes. They brought the spoon back. Okay, anything that you can find that's good. You notice it. You talk about it. Number 3, I'm not really happy. Okay, my role is encourager. That really is my number 1 role, is encouraging them. Because along the way, they're going to learn a lot of things, and it's going to be hard. And you're the encourager. So something that I've been keeping in my mind that I heard a while back, you probably heard of it, but just how, chickens, little chickies, they have to peck their own way out of their shell. And if you help them, they actually end up dying, because the muscles that they need to grow old are formed by pecking out of their own shell. So if you try to pull back the shell, you're actually doing more damage. So it's this practice of watching while they're having to peck out of their own shell and endure some hard things, and you're just like encouraging them from the side. So I try to keep that in my mind. This is from Mary Main's Kids Are Mean. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody heard that was not from my mouth. But she said, I was so glad to hear this. It's really true that sometimes they just are mean. Okay, now, and I realize it's mainly the older ones, because there is such a sweet, sweet beauty in those younger years. But they are mean when you're older. And because what happens is that somewhere along the way, they just become straight up non-Christians living in your home. And most of you have enjoyed living with a Christian spouse, and having your littles follow you along. And you've been doing the best you can, trying to, walk along the road and say all the right things and take them where they're supposed to be and all that, right? But then at some point, it is God's plan that they start to become aware, that they go, oh my gosh, I'm naked. That's actually the first thing that they start to notice. It's really interesting how that creation story just keeps giving. Because, after they said they noticed they were naked, there happens to be an awakening, and you may have seen it with your 10-year-old, your 11-year-old, where they notice that they're naked, right? And either they go one of two ways, like they won't let anybody in the bathroom anymore, like that you really want to look at them, or I don't know, like they start locking the door and causes all kinds of problems, or they run around naked, and I don't know why they do that, but I've had both of those. But they have an awakening. And they start to realize, oh, I'm doing things, and now they do things on purpose. Like they've always messed up, they've always sinned or whatever, but they don't know what they're doing. But there's at some point that they start to choose that. And so you have to be aware that they're just not easy to live with. They're really unpleasant. And because they're non-Christians living in your home and you're not used to it. And so you start thinking that you want to fix it. I gotta fix this. What's my responsibility? I know it's hard for me to decide. Well, what is my responsibility exactly? But I'm learning to embrace free will. I'm learning to embrace that gift. That's the gift that God gave us, and that's the gift I need to give my children. But that means I have to be ready for this. It's not like we accept it like, yeah, it's okay to be mean in our house. No, we correct it, but I can't take it personally. And yeah. Okay. All right, and then the next one, it says, look on them with pity, because you remember how hard it was to be their age, which is not hard around middle school. I've never met a person that liked it. Never met a person that liked middle school. It's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea in our country. Take all these kids that are in puberty and throw them all in the same room. I just like, oh my God. Okay. So then here's some more notes. These are not Mary Mains anymore. Okay, so some things that I picked up along the way is that all behavior is communication. It's all communication of an unmet need. So when a child is acting out, they're acting out because they're trying to communicate something that is impossible for them to verbalize, right? It's just impossible for them to get it out. But you need to know that they're just trying to communicate. And you did this too, if you remember, that you were acting out when you were trying to communicate that something's wrong. That just helps me to remember that. And scared children do scary things. Like sometimes your kids will do something that is just like crazy scary. Like, I don't know, start a fire in the bathroom. This happens. And then you think, oh my gosh, I'm a pyromaniac as a child. Like my child is a pyromaniac, or it's crazy. They do things that are scary. The worst, the thing that comes out of your mouth naturally, which is absolutely kind of the worst thing to come out of your mouth, is, why did you do that? Right? Why did you do that?
What are you doing?
They do not know. They have no idea. It is not a cognitive action that has happened. It is a response to their amygdala, right? The lower. And if you want to keep up with your kids, just study the brain. Study the brain is the most beautiful thing. But their amygdala has fired up, and it has caused them to do stuff because they're just reacting at this point. So we're the ones that tie intent to it. And we're the ones that jump to the nth degree. Like, I've already got my kid out. They're, I don't know, like they're already in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, they grew up and they went to jail. They're the ones that they did a school shooting on the way. Okay, so I'm only half joking about that. We do go that extreme, right? So we're the ones that do that. But we can always address this from a feelings perspective instead. We can always say, you must be feeling really scared. And that's how we go into the conversation. You must be feeling really scared. Because when a kid gets caught doing something dangerous or stupid, classically, you know, just like the Bible word, stupid is what I mean, foolish, I should say foolish, they're very scared. So we can start to address it by, you must be feeling a lot of fear. You must be feeling really scared. So those are things that help me, is just to remember that. Connection before correction helps me, because, you know, sometimes, oh my gosh, it just comes at you fast. The things that can go wrong in the morning, especially. Have you ever noticed that? Like by the time you get out the door, like first of all, I was gonna get my son up because he forgot to he didn't do his chore from last night. So that was the first strike against him, and then I'm gonna get him up because of that. And then when I go in there, I realized it was phone. You're not supposed to have your phone in it. I mean, he's still asleep, and I've already got like, okay, well, and then the phone, what is the phone doing in here? And then you find out that, you know, something happened, something else, and it just keeps piling up. And this is before 7 a.m. You know what I'm talking about? It just comes at you fast. And so I always have to remember, okay, wait. I want to be, even though it goes against what you feel at the time, I need to connect. I have to keep the relationship more important. I have to stay relational. Relationship is more important. The relationship is where I want to stay. Whatever the issue is. So I have to take a step back, and when I take a step back, I can think about how I want to respond. So, and a correction may come, but first I have to make a connection. So this is what I say to myself: stop. Are you dysregulated? Okay. If you're not, so I use that word because that's the word that people use for my kids all the time, because they'll get to a point where they are completely dysregulated. So they can't. So it looks like this, and they're not looking at it. They can't see anything. That because they're caught in their fear. They're caught in their fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? So they've just they're stuck. One of my kids gets very stuck. They can't speak, can't do anything, just zones out, blah, blah, blah. They're dysregulated, and you're not going to get anywhere talking to them. So they have to get regulated before you can talk to them. Well, we're the same way. A lot of our parenting problems are going to come a lot more from our fear than our kids' fear. Yeah. It's going to be a lot more about you than it is about them. And so I have to catch myself and go, okay, am I dysregulated? Is my heart beating really fast? Is my stomach burning? Do I have something that I would really like to say right now in this moment? All of those are very bad signs, right? All of those mean I need to not talk yet. I shouldn't be responding. I can't respond because I'm going to be reacting. I'm going to be doing something that's not good. So I need to stop, ask myself, what are you feeling? Almost always I can trace it back to fear. I've come to believe that there's two emotions, fear and love. There's really just two basic states of being, fear and love, because all of my anger and all of my disgust and all of that can always be traced back. But, and I think that's somewhat what God was saying when he was, you know, as John grew older, all he ever talked about was love. You ever notice that? Like he's the only disciple that was allowed to live out his whole life, and as he became older, he just talked about love and it pushing out fear. Anyway, so I stopped myself. I dysregulated. If I am, I can't carry on the conversation. I have to go and I have to pull myself together. And I just tell my kids, you know, I need a minute because I'm dysregulated. I'm not even regulated. You can use a different word, but they know what that means. So I go, I have to go. I need to go and make sure that I'm going to speak in a way because you're too important to me. And I'll say that out loud. You're too important to me, and I'm going to hurt you if I speak right now. So I need to go pull myself together, and then we can talk. So then I come back with them, and oh man. Okay, so the first thing you do is when you get back with them. So now you're talking to them after an incident has occurred. Then you get back with them, and you can reflect, and you guys reflect. So what just happened? Can we talk about what just happened? Can you take me back in your mind? Can we, can we calm down? You know you're important to me. I love you. You have nothing to fear. I'm for you, I'm never leaving you, you know, whatever you need to say to you, because these are things I need to do. So we reflect on what happened, we talk about it, and, you know, they did something wrong. They did something wrong, right? And so then I relate to them. And I go, totally. I am exactly like that. And you know it's true. It's not hard to relate because they're just humans, right? So you're just relating. In fact, you can use all of this stuff just to relate to other humans, right? So you reflect on what just happened, then you relate to them and you go, it is really hard, honey. I totally get it. I really do. And then you can regulate. So you can, you know, we can get to a place where we're talking again, where we're communicating again. So those are my 3 R's: reflect, relate, and regulate. Okay, this is another one that's helped me: ignore the lie, not the child. Okay, so everybody always asks, you know, what do you do about lying? And I live in the world of lying. So it's a pretty typical foster adoptive thing. It is. But you know, everybody does lie. I grew up, you know, and I was a big liar. But what I've learned to do is ignore the lie and not the child. Okay, so when a child is told a lie, why have they told the lie? Well, isn't it usually to get out of trouble? Like, right? Because you're afraid you're afraid, that's what I just said, you're afraid you're gonna get in trouble, right? You know you've done something wrong. You're embarrassed, and so you want to lie, right? So they've just done something. And so what we often do is, I don't know where this came from, but we kind of make lying the worst thing a kid could possibly do. I don't know if anybody that has ever heard that, but it's like 10 times worse than anything else that they could do. I do understand that thinking, because if you lie, then I can't help you, right? I mean, I can help you if you've done anything, but if you lie, I can't get in there and help you, right? Okay, so I understand where that's coming from, but that's not actual reality. It's just a lie. So they told a lie. It's simply that they're protecting themselves. They've gone into self-protection mode. They're afraid of getting in trouble, so they're afraid. So what happens is they lie, and you get afraid. That's what really happens, is that you're afraid. So you have to stop the whole thing when you know they're going to lie. And you totally know it. You know when you know it, like they're totally lying. And there's crumbs on their mouth, but they didn't eat it, or you know, we kind of found this in your room, dude. I think it really was you, you know. But they're lying. They're holding on to it. But when you know it, then you just go, okay, let's press pause. We're just going to press pause. And you can pull yourself together. You might have to go away, just like, you know, and regulate yourself. But then when you come back together, you approach it from, you tell them, you know, everything's going to be okay. That's the first thing, because they know that they just really messed up. You know, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And, that's you make sure they know that before you take your break. So you're not like, I'll be back. You know? I need to go to my room. All of that's very scary. I will just say that the way that we talk, just so you know, it's really scary. And I know it's not as scary as your parents were to you. I know. But here's the deal. So many times we view our families through the lens of what our families were. And we think, oh my gosh, you have no idea. We're great. You have no idea what my parents were, right? And I'm just going to tell you that that's going to come back and bite you. Just so you know, that's going to come back and bite you, because you were living in comparison to the family that you were raised in, not in comparison to Jesus. We're not wise when we compare ourselves with ourselves and with other people. We compare ourselves with Jesus, and we strive to be with and like Jesus. Because things that we're toughened up, we're tougher, they don't have that. They're not tough. Does that make sense? Because they didn't. So your half as much as your mom response is still way too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so just little things that we think we're okay to do, like, no, you're in trouble, buddy, or I'm going to I'll be back, or whenever you start that, it's always going to come back to bite you. So what you want to say is, everything's going to be okay. I love you. I'm not mad at you. You're important to me. I need to go think, regulate myself, and I'll be back. Okay, so then you walk away so you have time to think, and when you come back, you say, you're able to say, when you lie, I get afraid. I'm afraid because I won't be able to help you. And I get really scared. It scares me. And that way, you're taking it away from the offense and you're making it relational again. But we always want to stay relational. The relationship is more important than the issue. Okay? And I think we just need to be set free from that scary thing that if they lie, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. And that's had to go for me, so that I just don't look at that way anymore. I'm not saying I like it. It's really hard. It's really hard. But I just think that we can deal with it. We can deal with it if we are honest about our own feelings. Okay, so this, and one thing about lying also is that, the consequence really is having to be honest. It's consequence enough. Having to be honest because they're admitting that they did something wrong. They're saying they're very vulnerable. They're having to be embarrassed, and that really is enough consequence. That's been my experience. Okay, so I wanted to recommend this woman. I am totally in love with her. She made a Therapy in a Nutshell is her YouTube channel. It's completely free. I mean, if you want to buy the thing for $40 so you don't see any of the commercials and all that, you can do that. And you get all these extra things that come with it, some printouts and a workbook but this is what we do in our family. We do one of these a week. Right now we're in her course. She has a lot of different things that she does, but this one is how to manage your emotions, I think is what it's called, working through your emotions. So if you go on there, then she has like this 30 lessons. And so we were just working our way through. We're on like number 10 or something. And it really, really is helpful. I could never tell you all the little helpful things that are in there. But if you want to do something with your child to help them with their mental health, then this would be probably a good resource for them. And for you, you will do you need exactly the same thing. We have such an opportunity, guys, to raise ourselves and to raise our kids. It's so great. We have so many things that other people don't, that our parents never had. Okay, and then I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing this right now on Simply Holy Living. If you've ever seen that, I just have a website. Where I catalog stuff, but it's also on a podcast. I'm talking about the fall festivals right now, and this could be just something for you to help you with your own spiritual life. And then I wanted to encourage everyone, if you can go to this, I think this is going to be a way for your kids to really enjoy family. I really do think it's going to turn, I'm saying I really do think this because it seems like nothing is certain ever anymore. You know what I mean? Like you think, I thought that was going to go well, and then it just didn't. With COVID and everything. But I kind of am afraid, but I'm like, I'm leaning towards. I think this is going to be awesome. Okay, so I would really love it if you guys, if anybody was planning on doing that. I think it's really going to be a fun thing for our families to do together, especially if you have like a preteen and up. I think it'll be a great time for them to bond with their friends. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I have. I think that's the end of my little thing.
Good stuff.
Thank you. do we have questions, or I don't think I can answer them, but
Well, hopefully you can answer this one. With the camp, I was just curious, like, what is there? Is there
Okay.
swimming?
thank you.
Horseback, like,
There is a pool, but I bet they close it after Labor Day usually. But they have, I shouldn't start with this, but they have 3 kinds of guns. So they have skeet shooting. I've never seen anybody have that skeet shooting, and then they have shotguns, and they have pistols. So we have target practice, and then they have,
Archery.
Thank you, archery. Ping pong, foosball, basketball, volleyball, horseback riding, zip line, all these kinds of, campy type things. And then what we'll have probably the biggest thing of all is that we have a main room, a big room. And what we've done in the past, and we're hoping will work, is that we just bring games. And so once the sun goes down, everybody's just in there playing games, word games. The kids bring toys if they, toys they don't mind losing. And we just kind of hang out. And so the game room is a big deal. That's kind of the big inside thing that we do. All the meals are included. They were pretty good. We went there to stay to check it out, and it was actually pretty good. I was, sometimes it's camp, but it was pretty good. I think that's all I can remember. Those are the things. I think if you want to go horseback riding, you have to pay an extra something for that. I don't think every single thing is included, but most of that is included. Okay. So, do we have any? Do you have any responses or questions or anything about parenting? What are some things that would help you? Yes.
Well, firstly, I appreciated the relational focus to corrective behavior, but like in my case, Luke is 3 going on 4.
Yeah.
And so part of me was like, wow, I'm really butchering the relational part because I'm quick to come in with like, you're not listening, time out, or and then I feel like, man, I'm becoming this like mean parent.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I navigate that stage in relation to what you share? I don't know if you can answer that, but that's just
what she asked if you are live streaming is she has a 3 or 4-year-old, and she's like, I'm really glad that you talked about the relational part, but I'm a little bit like, I have no idea how to do that. And I'm turning into the me mom because I correct everything, So, first of all, just know we all understand. Like, we all understand it. I think something that I've been experimenting with through the years is time in rather than time out. So, what I think a lot of times when our kids are acting out, we go straight for the behavior, and I think there's something that they need. They're communicating something. They're communicating some sort of need, and they could just be, every kid needs to be corrected. Don't get me wrong, it needs to be that way. So I would just maybe experiment with ways that you can do. What is it called? Pre-teaching. So like, that your child has a problem when this occurs, right? And so you kind of set up these training sessions to where you go, okay, I know that my child has a really hard time when I say it's time for nap and they want to keep playing, right? So they want to keep playing, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, hey, it's time for your nap. And then they're going to fall out and have a fit and start, screaming or whatever. Okay, so like, let's say that that's the scenario. So what you would do is you would pre-teach this by setting up a time. So in you're having a family devo, right? You're deciding we're going to talk about this. We're going to do puppets or something to show. We're going to show what a good response would be when I come in, so that you're not going, let me explain. You don't want to turn after that. But so that when I say it's time for a nap, this is what it would look like, right? So you are modeling for them what it would look like to have a good response to that, and then you would practice it. So you practice it, you tell them, we're gonna practice. And so they think they're doing something, I don't know why, but it seems like it's cool. When you're not, I don't know why, but so we're gonna practice this, and you do it like 5-6 times at random times, and each time you kind of give them a reward of praise. You know, don't get me wrong, not like a food treat, but but you are kind of training, but you're like, that was great, you did it. You know, when you have that face like, I can't believe it, you're so awesome. So you give them praise, and so then when it actually happens, and you know you're getting ready for nap time, then you can kind of whisper to them like, it's almost nap time, I'm gonna do that thing. I'm gonna ask you to put away your toys. That you have 5 more minutes, but I just wanted you to know so you'll be ready. So they're actually acting well. They're acting the way they're choosing to. They're not just reacting. They've been taught before, and so that's what training would be. We do a lot of teaching, but I think we have to do more training. So you come alongside them. You do a lot of practicing. If you have just train, don't think I'm doing something weird here about training a dog. Okay, but let's just use the concept of training, okay? If you are training a dog to not bark when the neighbors come, when people come to the door, they have to go to their space, right? So you're teaching them to go to their place. Not that my dog does this. I'm just saying, theoretically speaking, you've got to just to go to their place, and the way you teach them their place is that you have to treat, and then you reward them for going to their place, whatever. And so after a while, they're like, oh, I like it when I do that. I like it when she says place, because I don't want to get a treat. Well, it's the same thing. It's okay to train that way. Sometimes we get very afraid that all we're doing is modifying behavior. Part of us, we do have to modify behavior. You can't teach a 3 or 4-year-old, you can't always get the heart of the matter in there. I mean, there is a certain amount of training that has to occur, right? Yeah. So you can be okay with the fact that, hey, I'm training you how to do that, and have training sessions every day. Floor time, where you're actually setting aside time for training. Does that make sense? Yeah. Instead of trying to catch up on the back end all the time, having to do so much correcting. If I catch myself having to do a lot of correcting, I always go, I haven't been setting this up right. It's always, for me, I can always go back to, okay, I've got to get on the front end of this. That's what that meant. I've got to get on the front end of this. There's got to be a training way to get on the front end of this. One of the things I realized that people don't have it, I thought everybody did this, but I guess they don't. You have to train your children how to come to church. You have to train them how to be, so that when they show up, they are kind and loving and giving, right? So, like when my kids were little, we would get in the car and we would sing. We would sing, let's see. This is the way we go to church, go to church, go to church. This is the way we go to church every Sunday morning. When we get there, we're going to see Dylan, going to see Dylan, going to see Dylan. When we get there, we're going to see Dylan, and we will give him a hug. When we get there, we're going to see Grace, going to see Grace, going to see Grace. And we would go through every single person they were going to see in their classroom, so that they knew, I'm going to be happy to see them. I'm going to be happy to see them. Then as they get older, you're training them to look for someone who's left out. As they get older, they're very trained by our society to worry about themselves. So this is why you see preteens and teens, my kids included, all of them. They walk in and it's like, they used to be happy. Hey buddy, you okay? You just try, they just can't stop thinking about themselves. So we try to get on the front end of that. We try to go, okay, remember, when we get there, you're going to be thinking about what you have on and what people think about you. And if it hasn't happened to your kids yet, it will happen. you're going to be worried about, oh, what is everybody thinking about me? It's so easy to think about yourself. But if you'll flip it and think about other people, just look around for somebody left out. Try to find somebody who looks like they don't fit in and pull them in. Go talk to them. You're trying to get them to do that. Yeah, it'll happen sometimes, but you're pre-training that so that they know what behavior you're expecting. Sometimes when I'm going to team night, I will say, I want to just make sure that you know what I'm expecting. So I'm expecting that, you know what, you had a lot of time this weekend to be on your iPad, because we have iPad time on the weekend. Don't get that all week, but on the weekend we get some. You've had a good amount of time on that. You've had a good time to relax and rest. You've had a good time with your friends. So now, this is what I expect when we go to church, because I know you're not super close to anybody yet. I know that you're not, doesn't feel comfortable. But what I expect is for you to try. And when we walk in, I expect you to talk. I expect you to smile. I expect you to be giving. I expect you to look at people. Okay? So I am expecting this. And just to be clear, if we can't get there, then we're going to have to change something about how we do that weekend. Because if it's not enough to have this time with your friends online and to have the iPad time, if you can't be giving to people that are in front of you, then we're going to have to do something to limit that time on the weekend. So what I'm saying is there's a consequence to not being giving, but I'm not demanding you got to be like Jesus. I'm really basically saying you need to be a kind human being. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting you to be a kind human being. Okay. Is that helpful? Yeah.
Can you post this or email this presentation to us?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you think it'd be helpful?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
The video, is it gonna be available on Facebook or?
It would be. Yeah, so I think it just you can always go back on there and watch anything that we've done. Yes.
Would Jay be willing to do a similar class for the husband?
Would Jay be willing to do it?
Here, here.
That's the biggest challenge, getting daddy vibes.
That's such a good idea.
Because it's not just us. Because it's not just us. I feel like so many times it goes back to the whole trope. It's like the husband's babysitting the children for us.
Yeah, the husband's babysitting
No.
the children for us. Yeah. Yeah, that is such a good, I wish, I have never been able to figure this out. It's so hard to get both parents in the room at the same time, and it doesn't really work, right? So then you go, okay, so how do we make sure that we have enough time? So moms and then dads too. So think about that. I think it'd be great for them to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Be great. Yes.
Well, I just think this is so perfect with this ties into everything what we were talking about last night, like my upbringing, my mom, my dad, what they gave me, what they didn't give me, how I haven't been able to give what the kids have needed, and so I've had to play catch up for years. So this is like gold. This is perfect.
Yes, I think it's been helpful for me too. I think I just want to share all the mistakes I've made, because I don't want you to get caught, doing that. And that was a big one. Was I totally overestimated the difference in me compared to the generation that raised me, and like my kids were going to be like, oh yeah, thank God, that was wonderful. They're just not, but it's okay. You guys remember, you had to go through the time where you were like, my parents ruined me. Everybody has to kind of do that, so to speak. So, but yeah, I'm returning myself to what I'm learning. I have found no other way to live the life of a disciple, to be happy in Jesus, to be
grateful to obey, to be in love with God, other than always keeping my focus on what do I need to do.
Yeah.
There's no other way. And so I'm the one that's growing in forgiveness. And my kids may not. I need to be the forgiving one. I need to be the mature one. My kids are not here to meet my needs.
Yeah.
I'm there to meet their needs. And so I have to be that person. I have to be the one that's humble, that says, I shouldn't have yelled at you.
Yeah.
Without that. But when you see how hard that is, but you got to just leave that last part off. Like, it's our own walk. We're learning how to be. Yes.
So I don't really have a question, but I just want to share in case anybody
share.
else wants to do it also. So I started, you talked about noticing the good.
Yeah.
So what we started in our family about a year ago was the kindness jar. And we just saved like a spaghetti jar and we decorated the outside and called it the kindness jar. And so we have a section in our kitchen with notepads and a pen. And so everybody in our family has to notice things that other kids or other people do that are kind. And they write it down and they fold it in. And then at the end of the day, like right before bed, we all sit down and we read them out loud so that they don't just depend on mom or dad to say kind things. So it kind of takes the load off and you have other kids noticing good things about each other, and the rule is they can't write things about themselves. And I've noticed that ever since we started that, my kids go out of their way to do kind things so that I notice. And so, like, purposely, like, I'm taking the trash out, and so I'm like, got it. So it's just, you have to see me writing right at that moment. But anyway, I really notice the difference in behavior and stuff. So that's just an idea.
It's so good, right? Because it's God's kindness that led us to repentance. That's what it says. In Acts, He didn't pummel us into submission. It was His kindness that led us that way. So it makes sense that if we are noticing all good things about each other, that it produces change. Yes.
Well, I really appreciate I think the broad range that you provided, because I have a broad range of kids' age, and I feel like you kind of, as a mom, addressed all of mine. As to like with my 9-year-old, I feel like there's not like a day that doesn't go by that I think, oh my gosh, I'm doing this so different than what I did for my 25-year-old.
Yeah.
And then my 20-year-old, and I'm like, why didn't I know this?
Yeah, I know.
But I think just the one thing I've been, I don't know, for several years now, and I'm like, wow, God's holistic. He cares about the whole body, the whole being, like our health. And just that you brought that, I feel like, just as people, like, I feel like, oh my gosh, we're evolving. We're bringing that into the church. God cares about these things, like, and it really makes a huge difference, to just be able to like accept your kids for where they're at, the choices they've made, like they're different than ours, but like to know that we can still have great conversations about all of it.
Yeah.
And that so I don't know, just all of the mom senses in me, because it's always kind of been a little bit more narrow.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like, oh my gosh, this is very encouraging to hear, to help me just be their mom. I mean, I did the silliest thing the other day. Like, I watched a TED Talk and it really got to me, and so I sent my 2 older kids like, did you guys know this? And they both sent me like, Mom, we can't even wrap our head around what you said this. I'm like, because I care about you. And it was super silly. And they're like, what? Like, we're adults. We don't need mothering. But they do.
Okay. Well, I think we're done. Thank you. Awesome. Let's pray. And then we'll God, we're so grateful for your guidance and your love for us, your mercy and your grace. And Father, we pray that you would continue to bless our efforts with our kids. And, we just love them so much. And sometimes that love just makes us, really afraid of bad things happening and not doing it right. And we're afraid we didn't give them this one nutrient, and this, we skipped out on this and that and the other, and we're afraid of all of that. So God, I pray that you would calm our fears and that you would help us to be gentle and kind with ourselves, to forgive ourselves, and to really be able to look at our relationship with our children in a different way, to be able to see all the things that you're teaching us through them, to be able to enjoy the process more, to stop ourselves before we do things that we don't want to do, that we know we're going to regret. God, teach us that self discipline. Teach us how to have self-control. Teach us how to use our tools that help us to treat other people with respect and kindness. God, we love you. We praise you. We thank you. And we just want to give you all of our lives more and more every single day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so I want to give you flyers since Jay went all the way home and got them. So I want to make sure everybody has flyers. We can just pass them out. Take as many as you want.
But I do talk.
Because I came home and I passed out.
I can see it on Facebook.
It is what it is.
No, it's YouTube. Oh, you turned it off? Do you want me to turn this off? I don't know how, but.
I wish I had written. We were so long. I love to have a lot of